Welcome to today's episode where we deep dive into one of the most influential psychological theories of all time, Sigmund Freud concept of the ego. In one corner, we have it impulsive, pleasure seeking and absolutely reckless. In the other, the superego, strict, judgmental and obsessed with being perfect. And in the middle, the ego trying not to lose its mind. Every decision you make, it's these three fighting behind the scenes. So today we are breaking down Freud's id, ego, and superego. Not with boring theories, but with hilarious, awkward, and painfully relatable stories. Buckle up because things are about to get messy. Part 1. The id, the impatient kid in a candy store. Imagine walking into a candy store with a hyperactive 5-year-old. The kid sees chocolates, gummies, lollipops, everything looks amazing. And what does he do? He grabs everything, no budget, no patience, just pure impulse. I want this, and ooh, that too. You say, wait, let's pick just one. He says, no, I want it all. That's your id, the little voice in your head that just wants what it wants when it wants it. Let's go into real life examples. Binge watching an entire series in one night even though you have a work tomorrow. Or ordering dessert even when you are full because it looks too good. This example, I think most can relate to this. Hitting snooze 10 times even though you know you will be late. The id does not care about consequences. It just chases pleasure, fun, and instant gratification. And if we only listen to the id, we would probably all be broke, exhausted, and surrounded by pizza boxes. Part 2. The superego, your strictest teacher. If the id is hyperactive child in a candy store, then the superego is the strict school teacher who never let you chew gum in class. It's the voice in your head that says you should be working harder, you should feel guilty for that, you need to be better person. Let's bring this to life. Imagine you are on a vacation, you are lying on a beach, finally relaxing. But then your superego whispers, you should be answering work emails. You could be using this time to learn a new skill. Are you really being productive right now? And just like that, your brain ruins your vacation. Another classic example, feeling guilty for saying no. Your friend asks for a favor, you exhausted, but your superego kicks in. What kind of friend are you? You should always help others. They all will be mad if you say no. So what do? You say yes? Even when you are drowning in responsibilities? That's the superego game guilt, shame, and pressure to be perfect. But living only by superego's rules, that's a fast track to burnout. Part 3. The ego, your overworked therapist. So now let's talk about the real hero, the ego. The ego is like a stressed out customer service representative trying to keep both the id and superego happy. For example, let's say you are at a family dinner. Your id wants to eat everything on the table and makes inappropriate jokes. Your superego says, mind your manners. Be polite and eat slowly. Your ego? It figures out a compromise. Okay, I will eat a bit of everything and crack a joke, but only one that won't get me disowned. Part 4. Defense mechanisms. It's all happen when the ego gets sneaky. But here is the thing. Sometimes the ego is too tired to deal with conflicts, so it tricks you instead. Freud called these defense mechanisms. According to Sigmund Freud, rationalization is a defense mechanism where individuals justify or explain their thoughts, feelings, or behaviors in a seemingly logical or acceptable way to avoid facing the true underlying unconscious motives. It helps reduce anxiety and protect the ego from distressing realities. Freud believed that many of our thoughts, behaviors stem from unconscious desires, often shaped by childhood experiences. When these desires conflict with social norms or personal morals, the ego employs rationalization to make them appear reasonable. Types of rationalization. Sour grapes rationalization. When people devalue something they cannot attain, let's take an example where a student who fails an exam says the test was unfair anyway. Second one, sweet lemon rationalization. When people convinces themselves they enjoy something unpleasant. For example, a person stuck in a low paying job claims, at least I don't have too many responsibilities. Its impact is while rationalization helps maintain psychological balance, excessive use can lead to self deception. Instead of confronting real issues, people may continue making excuses, preventing personal growth and true self-awareness. Here are some examples of rationalization in concept of Freud's ego's development. A person who cheats on a diet by eating a chocolate cake might say, I had a stressful day, I deserve this. Plus, chocolate has antioxidants, so it's healthy. Here, the ego justifies its craving while keeping the superego satisfied with a logical excuse. In Freud's stages of development, children experience conflicts related to different erogenous zones. When they fail to resolve a stage's conflict, they may develop fixations and later rationalize their behaviors. Example: a person fixated at a oral stage might overeat or smoke as an adult. They might say, I smoke because it helps me focus, not because I'm addicted. Freud believed that as adults, people continue to use rationalization to protect their ego from guilt, shame, or failure. For example, a man who gets rejected after asking someone might say, she wasn't my type anyway. Instead of acknowledging the pain of rejection, he rationalizes it to maintain his self esteem. Second one, projection. Projection is a defense mechanism where a person unconsciously attributes their own unacceptable thoughts, feelings, or impulses to someone else. This helps the ego avoid anxiety by externalizing inner conflicts. The id has desires that may be socially or morally unacceptable. The superego imposes guilt or shame for those desires. The ego, to protect itself, projects those desires onto others. A person who feels attracted to someone outside of their relationship might accuse their partner of cheating even if there is no evidence. Instead of facing their own feelings, they externalize them onto their partner. For example, a boss who is incompetent might constantly criticize employees for being lazy or unskilled. Instead of facing their own shortcomings, they project them onto others. People often project their insecurities, fears, or aggressive feelings onto loved ones. A person who is secretly insecure about their looks might accuse others of judging them for their appearance even when no one is. Sometimes, entire groups project their fears or insecurities onto others. For example, let's consider a corrupt politician might say, the media is full of liars who manipulate people, while they themselves manipulate public opinion. Third one, denial. When reality threatens the ego, it may deny the problem altogether instead of dealing with it. A person diagnosed with serious illness might say, the doctor must be wrong, I feel perfectly fine. Instead of coping with fear, they refuse to accept the diagnosis. If childhood trauma remains unresolved, adults may deny their behaviors stem from their childhood experiences. For example, a person with attachment issues from childhood might insist, I don't need anyone, I just prefer being alone. They deny their deep fear of abandonment. People use denial to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths in relationships. For example, a spouse ignores clear signs of infidelity saying, my partner would never cheat on me. Denial helps them avoid emotional distress. Let's consider a real world example comparing rationalization, projection, and denial. Situation: a man who loses his job. Denial: rejecting reality. I did not get fired. The company is just restructuring and they will call me back soon. Even when he receives a termination letter, he refuses to accept it. Projection is that blaming others for his own feelings. My manager always had something against me. He is one who wanted me gone. In reality, he was underperforming, but instead of admitting it, he accuses his manager of having a personal grudge. Rationalization: making excuses to justify the situation. It's good that I lost this job. That company was never a good place to work anyway. Rather than admitting the loss is painful, he convinces himself it was for the best. How these defenses work together? First, he denies reality that he wasn't really fired. Then, he projects blame onto someone else that is his manager's fault. Finally, he rationalizes it. It's actually a good thing. This sequence helps his ego protect itself from the painful truth. Freud's idea wasn't just about psychology. It's something we live every day. Every decision we make is a tug-of-war between what we want, what is possible, and what is right. Understanding this can help us navigate our own thoughts and behaviors better. So next time when you face a tough decision, ask yourself, is this my id, ego, or superego speaking? And more importantly, who should I listen to? Stay tuned for the next episode on Carl Jung theory. Until then, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep understanding for yourself. Thanks for listening.